Good morning and welcome to this episode of Vision Alignment. We all understand that we all have blindness in our lives. If we can understand that blindness and we can take our blinders off and maybe sometimes put them on in order to focus in on our vision. That's what's important for us all to understand how we need to be in jobs and careers and in life, focusing on what our core goal, our core goals, our core beliefs, our core values, our core strengths. There, I said it. I can say it. So understanding our core values and having those aligned with our vision is really important. I have a special guest coming on today who is no stranger to knowing what her core values and her core strengths are and how she has aligned them with her vision. Without any further ado, I'd like to bring on Mari Ryan. Good morning, Mari.
Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fabulous. It's so nice to be here with you.
It's great to have you. So tell me, Mari, when is your first recollection of knowing your vision?
You know, it's interesting. I think that probably didn't come until a little later in life. And part of it was, I think for many people, many people can relate to a situation of getting to a point where you just realize that some things aren't working the way that you want them to. And for me, that was as a result of nearly 2 years during my career where I was traveling 100% of the time for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And I had 3,000-mile weeks and I had 6,000-mile weeks. I'd fly from Boston, where I live, to Seattle, and I'd stay 10 days. Then I'd come home, and then I'd go back and do it again the following Monday morning. And some weeks I was flying from Boston to Dublin, Ireland, and back in the same week. So those were my 6,000-mile weeks.
Wow.
And I got home after this nearly 2 years of this type of work. And I said, you know what? This life sucks. This is not what I want to do with my life. It really felt like the work that I was doing was okay, but it didn't have a lot of meaning. And it was just wreaking havoc, of course, with my own life, because I was, wasn't ever home. My friends never knew where I was going to be when, and I didn't have connections to the people in the community that I lived in. And so I just felt like that was kind of a breaking point where I said, something's got to change. And at that point, what I actually did was I hired a life coach, and I worked with that coach for a couple of years to really help me get clarity about what I'm good at, what my skills are, what do I enjoy doing, and what was really going to bring meaning to my life. And as a result of that, it led me to the work that I'm doing today and that I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Wow. Wow. If you want to hear more, stick around. Mari, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Before we get started, I really want to encourage all of our listeners to put in a hashtag live if you're listening to this live. If you're listening to this in a replay, put in a hashtag replay. And as always, share this video out with other people. So making this community much larger than what it is today is really what it's all about. It's helping other people to understand how important it is to have your vision aligned with your core beliefs, your core values, your core strengths. So that is important for us all to understand. But if you would share this video out, and as always, put a picture of you winking in your timeline. If you do that on your timeline, then you start to know what makes you unique. Well, you start to understand what makes me unique, and it's not my eye. What makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm able to share my story with other people. So what makes you unique? It's important for you to know that, because then you can start to serve other people with what makes you unique. So having said that, Mari, again, thank you so much.
My pleasure. This is fun.
This is great. So tell me, you've already really told me a little bit about your story, but is there anything else you can add to kind of give our listeners an idea of of your vision and what happened?
Yeah, well, after I was working with this coach for a number of years, and it really did take me several years to try to figure out what it is that I really wanted to do in a way that was going to have meaning both in my own life, but in the lives of the people that I work with and the customers that I work with and the, the people that I serve. And what I found was it led me to this field called, for general purposes, worksite wellness, or at least that's what we called it 15 years ago. Today we call it worksite well-being. And what I found was that, well, I knew work sites. I've spent my entire career in business. I've been in all kinds of work sites, from some of the largest companies on the planet to, 3 people around a dining room table starting a business. So I get the work part. It's the wellness piece. So how hard could that be to learn? And what I did was I ended up going back to school and I earned a master's in health promotion. I already had an MBA. And that gave me some foundation. I got some certifications specifically in worksite wellness. And I figured, okay, now I've got that down. Let's go do this. And for 15 years now, I've been working with mostly larger employers, but we've also worked with smaller employers to be able to help create a workplace where both the people and the business thrive.
That's awesome. I love it. Hey, I want to ask you another question, but tell me a little bit about your biggest factor in your success. And while you do that, while you think of your answer, I want to bring on one person that has been putting some comments in. So he says good morning and happy Monday fun day. But then he asks a question about your pizza. What's your favorite pizza topping? I told you there'd be odd questions.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's a great way to start the day. I don't often think about pizza in the morning, but it's funny. I'm not a big pizza person. I do love pizza. I would say that it's got to have some vegetables. So that's an essential part. Is there's got to be some vegetables. So whether that's peppers or unusual things like asparagus, which you may or may not find on a pizza.
Wow.
But I love to have vegetables on a pizza.
Huh. Interesting. So tell me about your biggest factor in your success.
Well, I would say that probably is a couple of things. So one is based on my experience in the business world. When I think this is a real differentiator for me in my field, because many people who come to the well-being field or the wellness field, as it's called, come from some sort of medical background or a clinical background. But when we think about this in the workplace, we really have to understand business and we have to understand how organizations work. An organization is a system. And within that system, we have to understand all of the dynamics that come into play that create the experience that the employees are going to be having. And I think my business experience has really been one of the key factors in really building my credibility and my ability to deliver high quality services to the companies that I work with.
So I know you've written a book as well, right? So tell me about your book.
Well, my book is called The Thriving Hive, How People-Centric Workplaces Ignite Engagement and Fuel Results. And it won a National Business Book Award in 2019. It's a book that, when we think about a system, so I've just described businesses as systems, and this is written as a parable, so it's a story, and it's set in 2 beehives. And I use the beehive as the metaphor for the workplace. And one beehive is called the alive hive, and the other beehive is called the dive hive. Brian, which one do you think you would want to work in?
I think I'd want to be in the alive hive.
Absolutely. So what I do is I just use these 2 scenarios as a way to demonstrate ways in which the culture of the organization, the practices, the values that are present in an organization, how they can support the well-being of the employees or how they can diminish it.
Wow. That sounds very interesting, very cool. So obviously you've gotten a lot of people to buy the book. How else can we get the book?
Well, the book is available on Amazon, and it is available in paperback. It's also available as an ebook, and it is on Audible.
Is there a workbook that goes with it, or are there questions in the book?
In the book, there's reflection questions at the end of many of the chapters.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool. So tell me, you've gotten a lot of advice over the years from your mentor, and so there's been other people as well. But what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, that's such a great question, Brian. I think the best advice that I've ever gotten was really about living by using our values to guide our life and the way that we make decisions and the things that we do in our life. And I think when we live that values-based life, what it really does is it reminds us of what are the things that are important when we are in alignment with those values.
Bingo.
Yeah, there we go. And then, when you could be out of alignment, if you find that you're doing something that you recognize that, hey, that's not really who I am, then it gives us the ability to really be genuine, to be authentic, and to really live our best life.
That's good. That's very good. It really makes me think, because I love to ask questions, and I have questions that are already scripted out, but then there's also other questions that come up, and I need to be more in the moment. So that's encouragement for me as well. Thank you. Tell me a little bit about. You have a lot of stuff going on, right? So I know you take care of your mom. She's look after your mom. You don't take care of her. You need to look after her. She's in Florida. You're in Boston, right?
Yes.
What else do you have going on that keeps you busy during the day?
Well, as a business owner, of course, there's always running your business, and that's pretty much an all-consuming kind of thing. As you mentioned, I've been. My mother's going to be 89 next month, so I've been spending some time with her over the past few months. She had some major surgery in September, and so there was always recovery when you're at that age from any kind of surgery, but especially for older folks. So, family's important. My business is where I spend, a lot of my time. But I also have, I have to look after myself. So I have my self-care practices and the things that I love to do, my passions that are the things that bring me joy in my life every day.
Well, first off, happy birthday to your mom. That's cool.
Yeah, I know.
And tell us about your passions.
Well, I have a couple of passions. One is photography. I've been photographing, oh gosh, I guess it's probably about 16 or more years now. And it's just something that I thoroughly enjoy. Last year, I started doing a photo a day, and I never thought I would be able to do this, but I got the entire year last year doing a photo a day, which was really fun because it sometimes just challenges me to be able to either share part of my day, if I go for a morning walk and I see something that's interesting, or, this week, and because I started doing it again this year, we've had, here in Boston, we had some inclement weather this week, and I haven't been outside as much as I like to. And I suddenly at 8:00 at night go, what's my photo of the day going to be? And I have to get creative. And so there my creativity piece comes into play of being able to come up with something that I can, I can post and share. So I share those on my Instagram account, which is my name, Mari Ryan. And so it's really been a fun way to just connect with people, just share part of my life and who I am. So that's one of the things that I'm most passionate about.
do you do anything? Do you do anything with the photos other than put them on Instagram? I mean, or is there a collage or like a video series you have? No.
I have a Flickr account where I put my albums, because one of my other passions is travel, and so I often post the photos from my trips on my Flickr account. So again, you can just use my name to find that.
Huh. So you have been able to travel to see your mom, obviously. How has it been?
Travel has actually been surprisingly easier than I expected it to be. And partially because the airlines that I've been flying on have really worked hard at making sure that their customers are cared for. And I just love that aspect of they're really making an effort and caring for our well-being. So the social distancing, the middle seats are empty. It's really been surprisingly a good experience. And until recently, there hasn't been a lot of people on the planes. When I first traveled in September was the first time since last February that I had traveled. There weren't very many people on the planes, and weren't many people in the airports. And now people are starting to travel much more. When we hit the holiday season, you could see the increase in the traffic. And because I'm headed to Florida, where my mother is, it's a popular place this time. A
lot of people want to go there, yeah.
Yeah. Although I also traveled in January to Utah. I was delivering a puppy to some friends in Utah. Aww. And again, it was that some of the aspects of being in the airport were busy. But once I got on the plane, I had a whole row to myself, basically. Oh. So it felt pretty comfortable. And I get tested, of course, every time I come back from a trip to make sure that I'm all, no problems associated with the virus.
How do you get a job as a puppy deliverer?
Well, this was kind of a funny story. It was, I have very dear friends who live in Utah. They have a home here in Massachusetts as well on Martha's Vineyard. So I see them a lot when they're here.
Wow.
But they were getting a new puppy, and the breeder was in Pennsylvania. And my friend was a little concerned. She's an older woman, and she was a little concerned about traveling, back and forth across the country to get the puppy. And I had planned to go out and visit them in December. And I said, well, why don't I just delay my trip a month and I'll go and get the puppy. So I flew from Boston to Newark. I met the breeder. She came from Pennsylvania and delivered the puppy to me. And I then flew from Newark to Salt Lake City with the puppy. The puppy was 12 weeks old, weighed 7.5 pounds. It was a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. My. Absolutely darling, adorable puppy. So that was really, really fun. Fun way to start off the year.
That is awesome.
It was also fun because it was a gift of self. I was able to give my friend this gift of saving her, this cross-country trip to be able to bring this little darling puppy that's going to be the joy in her life for years to come.
But you used something that made you unique. You're traveling, your love for travel, and a core strength, and you use that to make someone else's life better, which is what it's all about.
Exactly.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. We got another friend that's joined us here this morning. Good morning, Mark. Yes, and he's live from Ohio. It's good to have you on. Thanks, Mark. I've got to ask then. It sounds like you're very, very well versed in all that you do to stay mentally well. But I've got to ask, at times there's got to be somebody that helps you to show you your blind spots. So who do you have that helps you to see things that you normally don't see?
Well, it's so important that we have people like that in our lives. And for many years, it was the coach that I worked with. He and I worked together for, I think in total it was about 13 years. And he played that role for me for a long time because there were various points in time when I was managing my business, my headcount was growing. I had more employees, and sometimes when you have employees, things don't always work out exactly the way you had hoped.
Oh, really?
So on occasion. So he helped me, see, my help clarify for me and see how I was showing up as a leader and as a manager. And so that was really helpful. And now I would say that I have some folks in my life. Actually, I have a standing Monday morning call with a small group of trusted colleagues that we meet every single week. We have for, I think it's over 2 years now. And that's one of those opportunities to be able to share those things that you feel like are working or not working, and you can have someone else, give you some feedback around that. And I think that's just so essential. We, as entrepreneurs, and especially those of us that are running businesses on our own, as a thought leader, I'm kind of out here as kind of by myself sometimes, and having not just one or two people, but a network of people. And I play that role for other people as well, where we can have those kinds of conversations and really be able to see what the way that we're presenting ourselves, how we're showing up, and how we are of service to others.
And these people that you have the Monday morning conference call with, are they all speakers, or are they? What's their vocation? Are they in similar vocations?
Yeah, they are speakers, thought leaders, consultants. Okay. Yes. So absolutely similar. So they're running similar businesses, which is what's great about this is, we're all kind of doing the same thing in a general way, different subject matter expertise, but, we're pretty much doing similar things.
Wow. And that's great to have that sense of camaraderie in order to help you to be able to go forward in your business.
Absolutely. It's essential. I think it's absolutely essential.
How do you find a group like that?
Well, it's interesting because through the 15 years or so that I've been managing and running my business, I've had various opportunities. And, usually it's through one of my professional networks. I've had, experiences where they work better than others. When I was early in my business, I was looking for people who had kind of done this already and started a business. So I was looking for people with more experience. And then over the years, I've been in these small group situations where I had the more experience than other people, and which in some cases was good because I was able to share and to be able to help them. But at the same time, it didn't necessarily fulfill what I was looking for, which is to find techniques and approaches to grow my business to the next level.
The next level. So let me ask you that. What's the next level of success look like for you?
Well, that really is continuing much of the work that I'm doing, both as a speaker, but mostly as a consultant. And that is just to be working with large organizations to be able to help them create workplaces where their people thrive. And that's the work that I do. That's the way I'm of service to these folks, and to really be able to have impact in creating really meaningful work experiences for their people that really focus on looking after their well-being.
That's awesome. I'm taking a note here. So, and maybe you can't do this in a brief setting, but how do you do that? How do you get them to organizations to be able to have workplaces that allow their employees to thrive?
Well, there's actually a number of techniques that we use to do that. When I'm engaging with a client, we typically go through a discovery or assessment process to help define their current state, because we have to know the place from which they're starting. And once we've got that and documented that, then we can look at all of the different elements of what's currently going on in their workplace, what's working and what's not working, what might be supporting and encouraging the well-being for their workforce, and what might be diminishing that. So we look broadly within the organization. We look at culture. We look at the physical workspace, and which is obviously from many people over the last year has changed because now many people are working from home. How has that either supported the individuals or diminished their well-being? But we also look at the programs, policies, benefits, many of the different elements of the programs and benefits that are available. And oftentimes we find that many people aren't even utilizing some of the things that organizations already have. So that's an easy way to just be able to make sure that we address those things, make people aware of them, and help them utilize those things to support their well-being.
Give me an example of something that they should have already had that they already do have, but they're not using. So give me an idea.
Yeah, so here's an example is when I was working with a large grocery industry client recently, and one of the things that we found, the benefits director wanted to really understand what were some of the benefits that people valued. So we added some questions, custom questions to the survey that we do with employees. And we asked them about we gave them a list of all the various benefits that they have. And then we looked across generations to be able to see which benefits were valued by which people in different age groups. And it was really interesting. So for example, younger people in the younger generations didn't seem to value the flexible spending account benefit. So this is a benefit that almost every large employer and many smaller employers offer that allows employees to put money aside that's used for certain types of often medical, but other kinds of expenses. And we realized that a large part of that might be because these younger folks just don't know that some of this is, this is a benefit and how to utilize that benefit. So that, would ignite a communication campaign, for example, to be able to help folks see how they could use it. They could use it for eyeglasses. They could use it for certain types of co-payments and medications that they might be getting. So it's really a matter sometimes of just creating that awareness of some things that already exist in the workplace.
Interesting. No, that's great. Great information. So if there's one thing that we can leave our audience with today, I mean, I really want to make sure that we're impacting as much as we can. What would you say that one thing is that in terms of whatever, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what is the one thing you would leave our audience with in order to make them remember you?
Well, I would say that we have to remember that while the workplace is a container that we use, and many of us are working, that we use as that container to be able to help support and encourage healthy lifestyles and support well-being, but that each of us has a responsibility for self-care. And self-care means different things to different people. Yeah. But if there's one thing that we've learned over the last year is that nothing is more important than our health. And we have a job and responsibility every single day to do what we can to take care of ourselves, to be able to really look after our health so that we can be there to be of service to our families, to the people that we work with, and to the greater good that we can create in our communities. So let's start by taking care of ourselves.
Very well said. I love it. Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being on today, Mari.
It's always great to spend time with you, Brian. Thanks.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to send you back to the green room, and we're going to close out the show. But thank you, and I'll be back to say goodbye officially. But if you would, just say goodbye for now, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
All right, bye. Wow, another great show. Wow, Mari Ryan really, really does what we all want people like her to do in order to help us from a mental perspective, and that's so important. We've got some great guests coming on this week. Tomorrow will be Mary Baloney. She's a one that has written a book on fundraising freedom. Mary is a great friend, and she has done so much in the world to help other fundraisers on that line. And then also on Wednesday is Michael Davis. Michael is a speaking coach, so he's going to be on Wednesday. And then Thursday will be my friend Eric Bam, and that will be awesome, I'm sure. And if you're out there, Eric, say hello. And then finally on Friday is going to be Bryn Tillman, and Bryn Tillman is the LinkedIn expert. So looking forward to having all of these people come on to this show. It's going to be great. I look forward to you all being there. But as always, remember to keep one eye on the road.